Media Network studio production.
Hi, welcome to Silver Linings. I'm your host, Janine Barrows, and sometimes co-host, and today I'm kind of taking that role. With me today is Jane Rooney, and she is the firm administrator for Rooney and Rooney legal team here in Vero Beach. And we are so excited to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to have a little conversation today that I think is truly important. Here in Florida, we have a tremendous population of senior citizens. And today we're going to discuss senior isolation and the impact of it and possibly some solutions. For once, we're going to be talking about something that's in my wheelhouse on my professional level, and I can't wait to share some information with you. But Jane, you have a unique position when you work with families. You deal with a lot of individuals who live up north, who may have a loved one here in Florida who's aging in place.
We do. We have a lot of calls come in from the children, and they need help with, mom or dad need their documents updated, or they're concerned for their well-being, and, what do they do in terms of making sure that they're taken care of? And that is a lot of times when we rely on professionals and when we rely on you for assistance in terms of making sure that there is someone to take care of mom or dad.
Yeah, we have been so very lucky. The company that I work with is Nightingale Private Care. And we help seniors and individuals every day remain in their home environments while continuing to have a quality of life. And I have to say, it's a feel-good industry because, you're helping individuals and you're allowing them to have autonomy over their own lives and what goes on within it. But you had mentioned these children, and when we say children, we're not talking about young individuals. We're talking about adult children of geriatric citizens, right?
Oh, most certainly. They are very much so adults. And a lot of them will come down, they'll come down and bring, mom or dad into the office for whatever it is that they need and make sure everything is done. And they have a short window of 3 to 4 days and then they leave again, but they're obviously adults, but they're adults with their own lives, with their own children, and with their jobs and whatnot, so they can't be hands on with mom and dad. And most times they're not able to come to Florida and live with them. So, we do have to rely on professionals to come in and make sure they're taken care of.
Right. And there are a multitude of ways that families that are out of the area can implement resources and tools to help them be involved or party to their loved one's care or needs being provided for from afar. And that is where companies just like mine come into play and being of assistance to those very families. I know for me personally, 2024 is a big year in conversation and professionally about senior isolation. It's not just on the lips of myself and my particular industry. It's on almost every single industry that touches the lives of senior citizens here in Florida through the year of 2024. There are very large groups that AARP is one of them. That is one of their biggest initiatives this year, and stemming isolation. We see isolation being a big factor with our senior citizens. And I'll give you an example. You live in Connecticut, and mom lives down here. Maybe she's a widow now. And you call every 3 days, you touch base, and you're like, hey, how you doing, mom? I'm great. I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for asking. But you really don't have any insight, an eyeball, so to speak, or hands on for mom and dad. You're just going by a conversation. And I don't know about when you talk to your parents, but my parents, everything is great. It's always good. And they're never going to ask for help because they're the adults and they're the parents and they don't need our help. They're there to help us. And I think that well into our aging process, once you're a parent, that perspective sticks with you. And so a lot of our geriatric population who might find themselves in need of actual physical assistance or even companion assistance or transportation, or families who want insight into the household of their loved ones, are finding it difficult to attain that because they're far away. So how and what can we do? So when you have family members call you and say, I'm concerned, mom doesn't sound right, what are we going to do? What are some of the things that you discuss with them?
Well, so typically, honestly, when they call us, they're in crisis mode.
Yes.
They call us when it's too late. They call us when something has happened to mom or dad and they're in the hospital or there was a fall. And unfortunately, I mean, and we do try to educate people and we wish people would call sooner, but they don't. So they call us when we need to work on a power of attorney, we need to work on a healthcare surrogate, because half the time that's not in place, and we always hope that we have at least capacity left so that, they can execute these documents and we don't have to worry about a guardianship. But at that point, they end up flying down and we rush to get the documents done and we have to send someone to the hospital just for the children to be able to take care of them, and then they get the power of attorney and the healthcare surrogate. And then we typically, educate them on, let's put something in place for when mom is discharged. Let's make sure there's somebody to receive her. Let's make sure there's someone to take care of her med management, because a lot of times that is exactly what we see, is that the medicine's not being taken correctly or it's simply not being taken at all, and then we have these issues or something as simple as an undetected UTI because there's nobody to take care of her.
That's always the big one,
It is. It always is. And it's always been surprising to me not working in the healthcare industry of how big of a problem that actually is. And so at that point, we usually come in and we do a little crisis management and we get paperwork in order. And then, we step into the role of not really legal professionals anymore, of just, human beings trying to make sure that there's a plan in place.
Yeah,
and
compassion and knowledge.
Well, yes, because you can't just walk away. You can't just turn people loose and then there's no plan.
It's one of the things have been addressed, but so many more have now been exposed with this new
exactly.
need.
And then with no plan in place, and then, they're out of state. They don't have any local resources. They don't know who to call. They don't even know what's available. And at that point is when we were able to say, hey, why don't you call Janine? Why don't you let Janine see what you need? Let her figure out what mom needs. And then we can put a plan in place for what's the plan for mom. And then we move on from there.
Yeah. Well, let me talk about that. People wonder what private care is, private duty, private care. Well, number one, first and foremost, is this is not a Medicare service. This is not a Medicaid service. This is usually out of pocket. So we encourage our individuals that aren't utilizing a long-term care plan, when they're thinking about getting in private duty services, to really understand what you're looking for and what we can provide. Private duty care is a wonderful solution for individuals who need a little assistance physically and sometimes just mentally needing that companionship, that purposeful, somebody's coming and they're going to be here and I need to get up and I need to get motivated, and then having somebody to be jovial with and connect with. Day in, day out alone is very trying mentally for any individual, much less one of our senior citizens who have more difficulty maneuvering out of their immediate space. So it can be simple. It can be companion care. It could also be in a need of a physical form. So sometimes people have a traumatic injury that puts them on the back burner from being solely independent for a period of time. Maybe they need help with showering or dressing or food prep or light housekeeping. Those are all part of normal private care services, at least for our company it is. And then you get into the capability of doing med management or skilled nursing if it's not covered by a Medicare coverage, and that's really important because those things come up. And like you had mentioned, one of the most common reasons people repeatedly go to the ER once they're over, 75, 80 years of age is usually a mistake or a missed dose of medication. So that's another avenue. Private duty comes in with a skilled nurse. They oversight. They make sure what's going on. They communicate with all the physicians to be sure that the medications that the client is actually taking is what they're supposed to be taking. I can tell you that when we go in and take on a med management case, our skilled nursing team comes inbound. And what they do is they take all the medications and they figure out, who, what doctor prescribed it. And we write notes to them. Hey, we're taking on this client and this is what we have. And you wouldn't believe how many times the doc's like, wait a minute, I stopped that 6 months ago. But because they're getting it mailed to them from a pharmacy that nobody canceled it from, because it's up to the client to stop taking that dosage, they just continue to take it. So it gets very confusing for them. You've got medication coming in the mail. Sometimes they live in senior communities. It's coming from, their mail system. Maybe a pharmacy's making deliveries. Maybe they've got a loved one that picks that specific one up at Winn-Dixie or wherever that they're getting it from. So we find a lot of mistakes that occur with med management. So that's one of the other ways that we get to be a resource and a help to alleviate that anxiety for families that are usually afar and not able to have that hands-on ability with their loved ones. And we see quality of life improve drastically when we begin interacting with our clients. It's a big change. It's a big change. I love what I do. I'm very passionate about it. And it feels fabulous when you know you're making a positive impact with a family. And I am so grateful for companies like yours, legal teams like yours, that recognize the importance of being more than a singular solution for your client need, but rather being humanistic in your services for the individual that you work with. So I love that. We're going to come back to that. Our time has come to commercial time. So we're going to take a small break, Jane, and then we're going to return and come right back.
Sounds great.
At Sunshine Furniture, our 35,000 square foot showroom is filled with the largest selection of in-stock coastal furniture on the Treasure Coast. Dining and bedroom sets, occasional tables, sofas, sleeper sofas, love seats and chairs, and all the latest styles and colors from Tommy Bahama, Lexington, Hooker, Riverside, Universal, Four Seasons, Braxton Color, and Capri. We're the outdoor furniture experts and have hundreds of styles of any patio furniture you need, including a gallery of Berlin Gardens and Pollywood. We're having a big February clearance sale, which includes all Tommy Bahama and Lexington in stock or special order, 50% off. Sunshine Furniture, 1295 US 1 in Vero Beach, next to Planet. At Sunshine Furniture, our 35,000 square foot showroom is filled with the largest selection of in-stock coastal furniture on the Treasure Coast. Dining and bedroom sets, occasional tables, sofas, sleeper sofas, love seats and chairs, and all the latest styles and colors from Tommy Bahama, Lexington, Hooker, Riverside, Universal, Four Seasons, Braxton Color, and Capri. We're the outdoor furniture experts and have hundreds of styles of any patio furniture you need, including a gallery of Berlin Gardens and Pollywood. We're having a big February clearance sale, which includes all Tommy Bahama and Lexington in stock or special order, 50% off. Sunshine Furniture, 1295 US 1 in Vero Beach, next to Planet Fitness, family owned and operated since 1991. Visit our website at sunshinefurniturecasual.com and don't forget to visit our outlet and sales store directly across the street.
Sunshine Furniture, the best in every way. Have a sunshine day. Sunshine.
Look how easy that was. I'm so grateful for our commercial sponsors as well as our show sponsors. And I don't want to go into our next half without saying thank you to Conway Financials and the legal team over at Rooney and Rooney. Without them, we wouldn't be able to bring you the silver linings here on the Treasure Coast. And we are extremely grateful for their support. We were talking about private duty services, private care, how it can be implemented into the households of your loved ones, and reasons and why it might be implemented or needed, whether it's a short period or a long period of time. Some of our clients we've been with for years, and some we only are with for a small period, a week or two, and get them back on their feet, and they're secure and they feel safe upon returning from wherever they might have been. And we see great success in those levels, whether it's a small group of time or a very long group of time. It's defined by the individual's needs. Speaking of individuals' needs, they change. As we age, our needs change. From our physical environment, the safety of how we shower, are we stable, medical anomalies that occur with us and run with us as we age, they impact our ability to remain safe in our personal environments. I get a lot of phone calls, and I'm sure that you all do as well, that want to talk about, is mom and dad safe at home anymore? And we were kind of looking at possibly moving to a new community, maybe a communal environment living might work best for them. You know, they're talking about the pros and cons for these things. Sometimes, and especially when an individual finds themselves isolated through being a widow or a widower, and they're used to having the communal company of another person with them or by them. And after a while of being alone because of whatever may have occurred in their path, they find that there might be a behoovement to them to move and consider an environment where there are many people. Do you get calls like that?
We do. We get quite a few calls like that. And it tends to be that the children are typically split.
Yes.
One or two want mom or dad to stay in their home, and one or two think that a communal environment is probably better for them. And there certainly are pros and cons. And usually we run through that with them. There's always a conversation of, well, mom could move in with so-and-so, and then the conversation is, that's lovely, but is so-and-so home during the day? Is
Right.
so-and-so going to work from 8 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night? And now what's happening in a now new environment that we moved mom into with really nobody there to help her navigate it? And the little things of, now there's a little tripping hazard here that mom doesn't really know is there because we moved her to a new environment.
She's been in the same place for 30 years.
And certainly, she knows it's there, but that doesn't mean that, you naturally just body movement remember that it's there. So those are some of the conversations that we have of, while it sounds ideal to keep people in the home, and certainly I think that's what we all would prefer.
Sure, we all wanted to have that.
If keeping them in a home where there literally is no one, then we're back to the same isolation of, now the interaction is for 3 hours in the evening. And is that enough? And is then mom safe during the day? So that's part of the conversations that we have of trying to navigate the pros and the cons.
Well, what I'm hearing is the word isolation. And
Absolutely.
what is probably, and I'm assuming, is the factor behind the children calling and asking these questions is fear of isolation for their loved one. I don't know if anyone's seeing them. I don't know if they're getting out. I think that they're not really maneuvering anywhere outside of their kitchen and their bedroom. I don't remember the last time they spoke to one of the neighbors. I'm not even sure the last time actually somebody laid eyes. I mean, I talk to her every couple days, but has anybody actually laid eyes on my mom?
Right.
And you might live in New York or Connecticut, and so it's just not physically a capability. And our senior citizens are challenged with technology. So I want to talk briefly about something that I would love to help families with.
Oh yeah, that you said you had a new product, right?
Yes, we do.
That could help with that.
We are providing a new service that we are hoping will stem isolation, or the sensation of isolation, and definitely open up the doorway for families and friends to be a part of their loved ones' aging process and giving themselves the inclusivity and visuality of what's actually occurring. So it's far beyond a phone call, and it's called Accord Connects.
Okay.
And it is amazing. It is not for our clients that need hands-on services. These are for the clients that family members are outside of the state, away. They want to have some kind of insight. Our senior population, we all use our phones. This is a 4-inch screen. Our senior population can't function with this. It's very difficult for them to FaceTime, and then you're only getting the close-up vision. I encourage people to check out our Accord Connects. Give me a call about it, because what it really does is it's a small box of equipment with 5 pieces in it. It's very simple. It connects to the television. It's a live camera, a simple remote. It's a universal, and it allows the family to use an app on their phones for free. And they are party to being able to call mom and dad live on their TV. Most of our individuals have at least a 40-inch screen. And with that screen becomes a bird's eye view. So they can see everything in the room, basically anything from the front of the camera, left and right, all the way forward to the back of the walls. It allows them to send videos that they keep in a simple folder. It allows them to text message and send voice texts. Mom can choose to accept the call while she's watching TV and you pop on live, or she can just let you go to voicemail and watch your video later. It brings in the ability for family and friends who maybe they've moved into a community, like you had said, to not lose touch with them and to still have a link to the outside world. You know, now when you send them Bobby Sue playing soccer, it's not on a 4-inch screen. It's saved on her system, and she can go back and share it with her neighbors. And that's just the simple one for families, and it's extremely affordable. And then we have a secondary one that actually offers a clinical insight. So they answer questions in the morning when they start, and if it seems a little off or anything is on the negative side, one of the clinical RNs will actually do a live video call with mom or dad and get a perspective of whether or not there's a reason to be concerned and if there is a need for clinical service. And if so, they'll send a nurse then.
That's wonderful.
So there is an amazing product out there that Nightingale Private Care is providing. I love what I do. And I think this is a great solution for families who live out of the area who really want some true insight to their loved one's environment and world.
I think it's important too, because you get to see into the actual home. You know,
do.
because you can present clean and well on the small screen, as you said. But
Yes.
once you see into the living room and you see, you know, is there filth everywhere? Is everything taken care of? Is she able to maintain her home?
Yes. And it also allows her to easily utilize this app and software impact from it. So the videos, the audios, and keep them and be able to refer back to them. So it brings the outside world inside those walls that maybe physically they can no longer exit from.
That's lovely.
So, and of course, the family and friends get to have some really great insight and interaction and give quality of life to them. And they don't feel so alone. And they also have a really good view of what's happening in their parents' world or their loved one's world. So I encourage people, if you have a loved one right now and you're out of state and they live here in Indian River County, call me. Let me give you some information, because they may not need private duty hands-on care, but they may very well benefit from the Accord Connects. Listen, Jane, I can't thank you enough for coming in, having a conversation with me. This is my first podcast talking about what I do, because generally speaking, I'm the one questioning everybody and what's happening and bringing the silver lining to light for others. So I'm grateful that today we had a little conversation about how maybe I could possibly be a silver lining for some of the family members of loved ones here on the Treasure Coast that might be aging in place. So I want to tell you, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for letting me have the honor of being the first person to let you talk about you.
I love that. On that note, we are very excited to say that next week we'll have Deidre on. We're going to be talking about some senior services and some insights on how to age in place with quality of life. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time. We ended early. We had a whole